Hello and welcome back. Please don't forget to complete all assignments and discussions in the module before the posted due date, and keep in mind that you have to keep up with the assigned readings. In this lecture, let's begin exploring community archaeology. Let's begin with a very general question. What is community archaeology? Community archaeology is archaeology that engages the local community. It's more than just involving the local community, it's partnering with local community members. So what parts of archaeology should local community members do? Can they do everything, or should they only be limited to certain aspects? Community members can participate in everything from research design to fieldwork to interpretation to publishing. Remember that it is a partnership. Archaeology is a team sport. We can't do it all alone. We need to have partners in order to succeed. That's not just in regards to community participation. Archaeology really is a team sport. So what term did my co-authors and I use to describe this partnership? Because we wrote an article. That's the article that's assigned. We wrote this article to demonstrate that we need to have partnerships. We use the term collaborative archaeology. Collaboration goes beyond volunteer participation. It engages community members in the archaeological process. Why should the local community be involved in archaeology? Well, they should be involved because cultural heritage, and that includes archaeology, is a shared resource. And in many cases, it's not our past as archaeologists, but it's their past, the past of the local community. So why not just let the local community do archaeology all on their own? Untrained community members can do more harm than good. By and large, the public is influenced by TV series that show archaeology for profit. And these shows are incredibly damaging. According to these shows, there is no research goal, there's no controlled excavation, they sell artifacts, or they monetize them at the very least. Sites get destroyed, some artifacts are favored over others, stuff is more important than data. We collect data, we don't collect stuff. There is no interpretation of what they're finding, and there's no dissemination of information, aside from the TV show itself. Here, in these TV shows, artifacts disappear into private collections. Because of these shows, collaborative archaeology requires professional advisors. So why aren't there more archaeologists willing to work with the public? It's very complicated. Few archaeologists have the time to dedicate to working directly with the public. For example, take myself. I teach, I grade, I write articles, I write research proposals. I present stuff at conferences, which means I have to write the conference abstract. I have to write the conference paper, create the PowerPoint, travel to the conference. And I plan my big Sicily stuff and my big Georgia stuff. And also I have a Wisconsin project. I plan all those. I also have my family, and that's always important. Okay, so archaeologists have a lot of things on their plate. Okay, family is a very important one. I think too many people forget about that we have families. We also have job constraints. I can no longer involve persons 14 years and under, so I can't do any school groups. I can't work with Boy Scouts or any scouts, not just Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any scouts. And that's a University System of Georgia rule. I can't involve persons 14 and under. Funding is limited. Archaeology costs money. Funding is very limited. So I have to get very creative with funding. Space is limited. At UNG, we have no archaeology lab. We have no artifact repository whatsoever either. So space is very, very limited. We also have to think about other resources that are needed. It takes a lot of time to select a suitable site, to coordinate with the landowner, with the local government, to get our permits that we need, to work with the SHPO's office. It also takes a lot of time to submit reports to the state, and that's required. So every time I do anything archaeological, I have to type up a report and submit it to the state. That takes a lot of time. So what did my colleagues and I discuss as a case study of collaborative archaeology? We discussed the Yehula High Trestle, and this is a photo of the remains of the Yehula High Trestle. It just looks like the woods, but really this is where the trestle was. The trestle was constructed between 1859 and 1861, and it transported high-pressure water across Yehula Creek in Dahlonega, Georgia. High-pressure water was used for hydraulic mining. This was a technique introduced to North Georgia in the 1850s. It washed away hillsides to expose gold. It was very profitable, but very environmentally destructive. So this technique destroyed the environment in several ways. It eroded hills, it clogged streams with tailings and mud, it diverted water from upriver, in which case it reduced the flow of the streams. This affected the biome within the streams and the rivers. It logged out the mountains for lumber. This lumber was then used for trestles, mining camps, for fuel, etc. The logging then caused more erosion, and then there were dangerous chemicals used to separate gold. Some of these dangerous chemicals are still present in the soils around Dahlonega. So what archaeological methods were employed to investigate the trestle site? First, the site was mapped. A metal detector survey was then conducted. How was this conducted? Well, the survey area was swept with metal detectors. Locations of detected metal were flagged and mapped. And this shaped our research plan. Several excavation units were then placed over some of the flagged locations. Other excavation units explored other locations with no flags. 5 excavation units were dug, and these indicated no structural features were identified. So what might this have suggested? It suggested that no structural features were ever in those locations. So what was the trestle? So was the trestle as imposing as it was advertised? Probably not. It may have been a rather flimsy structure. This is a photo of the Yehula High Trestle. It's in the upper right of this image in the background. This is the only known photo of the trestle. And in this image, the trestle is just kind of, it's just something in the background. It's not the focal point of this image. But you can see the trestle. It doesn't look to be some imposing structure. It was advertised as some imposing structure that was something reminiscent of a railroad trestle, even though it only held water. This does not look like it would be able to hold a railroad at all. This does not look something, it does not even look safe enough to walk across, let alone carry water. So we have to think about what this structure really was as opposed to what it was advertised as. So what happened to all those flagged locations that were not in an excavation unit with a metal detector survey? Well, these were all dug individually. Not all of them contained artifacts that we could find. So even though we had the metal detector suggesting there were remains, there was ferrous remains in the ground, not every single one of those locations contained metal. So we have to think about that. Let's sum it all up. What benefits did collaborative archaeology afford this project? Well, it afforded community engagement, which provided additional perspectives. Here we incorporated the perspectives of the local community members into the project. It provided a collaborative publication. Some of the community members were co-authors on this. This is something that very few community members ever get the chance to do. This is not something that's as frequent as you would imagine it should be. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. Please keep in mind, complete all assignments and discussions in the module before the posted due date and keep up with the assigned readings. Also, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.